Up next is Ohio Governor John Kasich, who joins us from Rochester, New York. Governor, let's start with your path to the nomination. Don't you have to win more delegates than you've been winning so far?
Oh, yeah, we're going to win more delegates, and I mean, that is our strategy. Here in New York, we're running in second place. Here, where I am right now, the town of Greece, this congressional district, I'm running even with Donald Trump. And the crowds are growing, John, as we mentioned. I mean, I had, 4,000 people here today, this morning. We will accumulate delegates, and we'll go into the convention, we believe, with momentum.
What happened in Wisconsin, though? You had a smaller number of combatants. It was in the Midwest, which is good for you, and you left the state with no delegates.
Well, look, I think Wisconsin, first of all, in the Republican Party is far more conservative than what we saw in Michigan or in Ohio. Secondly, it turned into a Stop Trump effort, and Ted Cruz spent over $1 million smearing me up there. And we didn't spend the resources to fight back. We were prepared to live with that result. But now that we're going to be in New York, we're going to be in Pennsylvania, the proof will be in the pudding. We will accumulate delegates, and you'll see it, and we'll go to the convention. And the interesting thing, John, is more and more people, the political establishment is beginning to look at two things. One, who can win in the fall? And I'm the only one that consistently beats Hillary Clinton in the fall. And there is great concern in the Republican Party that we're not just talking about the presidential race, that frankly, if we get blown out in the fall, which I think we would with both Cruz and Trump, we could lose the United States Senate. We would lose seats all the way from the State House to the courthouse. And I think this is going to be a big consideration at the convention. And secondly, they're actually going to try to figure out who could be a good president.
But you'll go into the convention with the least amount of delegates, probably of the three people who are in this contest still. Is your main competition then Cruz and Trump? Or is it, people are talking about Paul Ryan. Some people even have talked about Mitt Romney. I mean, who do you see your competition if it's as wide open as it'll need to be for you to win?
Well, I don't know that it's going to have. Look, here's what's going to happen, John. I don't want to get into all the process, but I think you're going to see significant changes in the delegates voting after the first ballot. And we have like the best people who can know how to manage a convention. The key for me there is going to make sure that I'm able to visit all these delegations. And as you know, the process of picking delegates now varies from state to state. So it's going to be very interesting, and we'll have a full court press. We've got the people that know how to do this. And the key for me is to be there. Now, here's what's interesting. I am the second choice of both the Cruz people and also the Trump people. It's interesting. And also, as you know, we've had 10 contested conventions, and only 3 times has the front runner won. And I don't want to go back in history too far, but I think old Honest Abe went into the convention either third or fourth and came out the winner. So we'll see.
But people are looking at this now, and they think, well, the people who got more delegates, shouldn't those delegates have some value? You will go in with fewer delegates than anybody else.
Sure, but you have to meet the magic number. It's sort of like, when you take a test, if an A is 90 and you get 85, you don't get an A. So, look, I've been talking about this for a month, as you know, even on your show.
But, Governor, you're going in there with 60.
Well, wait a minute. We don't know what we have yet, John. We're going to have some momentum and accumulate more delegates, and we will. And our strategy is to continue to move forward to accumulate delegates. And so we'll see what happens out of New York, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Connecticut. We'll see what happens there. So don't be trying to predict how many I'll have, because I'm not going to predict it, but I'm going to have more than I have right now, and we'll be viable.
Let's talk about...
John, at the end of the day, I'm the only person who consistently beats Hillary Clinton in the fall.
Let me ask you
what are we going to pick, somebody who can't win? I mean, that would be nuts.
Let me ask you about Hillary Clinton. There was a debate on the Democratic side this week about whether she's qualified to be president. Do you think she is?
Well, it's not my job to be running around questioning people's qualification. Let the voters decide. I think look, I beat her in virtually every state all the time. And my biggest challenge now, of course, is this Republican primary. And we just have to keep moving on it. And when we get into the fall, you talk to Democrats, experts, they say Kasich can attract crossover votes, those conservative Democrats and independents. And I've demonstrated an ability to do that in a general election. So we just got to get to that point. But I'm not going to start saying this person's not qualified or start attacking I just don't want to go there.
Let me ask you a question about something that your colleague, a governor in North Carolina, did. He signed a law in North Carolina that banned anti-discrimination protections based on sexual orientation. It also mandated that transgender people use public bathrooms based on the sex indicated on their birth certificates. Would you have signed that law?
Probably not. I mean, look, we are not having this issue in our state about this whole religious liberty. I believe that religious institutions ought to be protected and be able to be in a position of where they can live out their deeply held religious purposes. But when you get beyond that, it gets to be a tricky issue. And tricky is not the right word, but it can become a contentious issue. But in our state, we're not facing this. So everybody needs to take a deep breath, respect one another. And the minute we start trying to write laws, things become more polarized, they become more complicated. Obviously, I don't want to force people to violate their deeply held religious convictions, but we'd have to see what that's all about. I wouldn't have signed that law. From everything I know, I haven't studied it, but Nathan Deal, the governor of Georgia, vetoed another one. And look, you just got to see what the laws are and what the proposals are and why you need to write a law. Why do we have to write a law every time we turn around in this country? Can't we figure out just how to get along a little bit better and respect one another? I mean, that's where I think we ought to be. Everybody, chill out, get over it if you have a disagreement with somebody. So that's where I am right now, John, and unless there's something that pops up, I'm not inclined to sign anything.
All right, Governor John Kasich, we appreciate you being with us.